All right, welcome all. This is Plutonic Planes. I think that's what my channel is. And here on this channel, in these current times, we're going through the human design gates. And I'm doing the especially long and detailed version. Been a lot of talking today. Just talked to a buddy of mine who I haven't talked to for a while. So that was great. Here on this kind of Plutonic week. And this is what I've been speaking about. This is not just the Aries vortex, but this week's huge, the January 20th to January 26th. We're looking at the Plutonic abduction of all the planets into the underworld and out. I love that quote by what is John Bunyan, his book Pilgrim's Progress. The quote is something to the effect of, "Long and hard is the way through hell to heaven." And of course, it doesn't have to be long and hard, but usually it is. And today I also did the video with Mario and Casey, two other astrologers I met at a Wake Shift, the Human Design Conference last year in Laguna Hills, California. And we talked a lot about today, so maybe just see that video for this week and what's going on, and Aries vortex and the latter Venus kind of abduction later in the year, as Venus goes retrograde every 2.5 years or so. But this vid, I'm just going to concentrate on the 41. So January 22nd, Sun transits Gateway 22, conjuncting Pluto as of Friday, so a day after, if I have my notes correct. Let me see, let me actually grab my notes, even though I'm gonna go, yeah, the conjunction will be Friday. And so what we're having today, Thursday, with the sun going into the 41, is we have Mercury conjuncting Pluto. And then tomorrow, on Friday, it'll be the sun conjunct Pluto, and then Mars will be entering Aquarius. So Mars will enter, Mars will get into gate 41 soon as well, making this a very, very powerfully emboldened and energetic, just huge wave of energetics. This is for all of us to kickstart our Aries vortex vision forward. This is like all guns a blazing, moving forward with what you're doing, what you're working on. And in this situation, we have this chart here, as you guys can see. And I'll bring my cursor around, because I always have my image in the way. There we go. So the sun is not exalted in the 41, and neither is the polarity, the Earth's 31. But that's in gate 41, line 1. And Ross spoke about this as the gate of decrease. And this becomes really evident when Richard Rudd talks about the city of this gate as a kind of black hole swallowing everything. And it's fascinating because this is a start codon. So this is the beginning of the sequence of the genetic coding. And this will be triggered in January 2027 with the Sleeping Phoenix transition from the 400-year cross of planning. So this is not a light gate here. We're dealing with a gate with a lot of layers and nuance. And it's right here. Let me show you guys where it is. So here I'm bringing the cursor down to the root center, the right hand side, going in the direction of the transforming solar plexus center that will become an awareness center in 2027. You can see here as we go into Friday that this tribal channel, the 4037, is activating the emotional wave. So we'll begin this weak with the emotional wave, moving, not quite clear, but reaching for clarity. And gate 41 is a pressure gate, pressure center. And Ra said that has an enormous importance. And Ra talked about it as like having a pressure above and below, and everything just kind of squashed up in the middle. He said that this type of pressure rules the nature of the world that we live in. And he would always say that's, it's part of it, part of the fuel of all the potential of what it is to be in a body and what it is to live out consciousness as a human being. And that this is something essential, something that was always present in the nature of beingness. And the reminders that all these root center gates or pressure centers coming off of the gate, they're all pushed forth from enormous pressure. And Ra goes on to say that we are all in contact with these gates, especially currently, and that these pressure centers are at the root, the fundamental root of the human process, and that pressure is necessary to initiate all processes of beingness. And Ra said that we're living in a time in which the 41st hexagram is activated by outer planets, so we're going to have a deep, continuing experience with it. And that this particular gate or hexagram is the fuel or the pressure of an abstract stream in the sensing circuit, the stream of feeling. And that it is an evolutionary and genetic material necessary for us to experience incarnation in a human form. Without this stream, the human evolutionary process would not exist. So we're not just speaking here about a fundamental pressure for life, but in particular, something that is not shared with any other form of life. This is a very specific pressure, as Ra noted, that's directly associated with being human. And as a codon in our genetic structure, Ra said this was the only initiating codon. So again, we're talking about a start codon. And it's an initiating codon in the sense that it begins. It's the beginning of the genetic structure of everything. So it's the most important pressure in our evolutionary process now and ever since we became Homo sapiens, or modern humans. It's the trigger that brought us into the stage that we're in and that we're still going towards today to complete. And on this note, getting more so to the nuance of what this gate is, Ra talks about the uniqueness of being human as our capacity to feel. And this is what leads to the need, to the desire for experience, which is captured by gate 30. As you can see here, each gate always calls for its other side. And the desire to experience, to be able to feel and manifest that feeling, is the human evolutionary process. It is what drives us from one experience to the next until we develop through that process. It also brings into play the nature of crisis. In other words, it tells us very clearly that the evolutionary process is rooted in crisis, change, and transitoriness. The 41st gate decrease is the gate of contraction, and it is the fuel in which there is the energy to feel or not. So the whole capacity to feel, the complete potential that exists in our genetic spectrum, is rooted in the 41. And so on a sexual level, he talks about it relating to fantasy. And my understanding of the 41 has always been that it's the heart of our imagination, what we fantasize, what we imagine, what we want to make a reality in gate 31, gate 30. And the truth of it is, my understanding has always been that we don't always need to experience everything that we imagine. Sometimes imagination is enough. And so the essence of meaning in the 41 is what Ra kind of noted as a kind of hunger. And in a sense, it's predatory. In a sense, it's about a hunger to stay alive. And so the whole key here, as Ra noted, to being an abstract being. So that was his term for these type of collective gates, is that life is rooted in something very simple. And that's just one step after the other. It's the value of successive experience. It's the value of the day to day. No, you're not going to complete everything today. You're going to complete what you complete, and then there's the next day. And then there's the day after that. Successive progression. That's what life is. Step by step. Reminds me of that song by Forbidden, an early Bay Area thrash band. They had a song called Step by Step. Sounds like it would be more like a pop song or something, or I don't know, something else. But so what it is, what we're looking at here is you can't live life, you can't actually make those steps in life towards your goals if you're living in the fantasies that are spinning inside of you. In Ra's Human Design Black Book, he noted it as saying, under this particular hexagram, the limitation of resources which maximizes development of potential. And he talked about the diminishment of potential when your resources just become fantastical. It takes energy and resources to imagine and to fantasize. It's not like free energy we have to do that. But it is important to fantasize, to know what you kind of want to have or want. It's just when it's over, and it's time to move on to the reality, to the goal. Chaitan talks about this gate as well. Now, Chaitan's usually very succinct in his description of these particular gates, and also very general in order to kind of encompass the full energy of the gate. And so in gate 41, if you'll allow me a moment to find it. So the first thing I guess I'd say before I find it is that 41 is in the root center. And so this is an energy that comes out as a pressure. So it's a lot of energy. And so the root gates, the gates coming out the root center, are really important to navigate that energy physically, because it's adrenaline. It's real pressure that builds in the body, and it needs to act. And it's a gate, this particular one is imagination, so that's a type of fuel to have a rich imagination. And it can lead to a life of, great experiences and kind of navigating the difference between fantasy and reality. It could be the gift of vivid dreams, and how to empower those dreams for self and for others. And your fantasies may be realistic or may not be. But it's a gate of scripting plots where you or someone else is the star. And you can begin to kind of visualize and even add senses to this experience. This experience of perceiving through the mind's eye. The danger, of course, here is bewitchment, right? Living in fantasies instead of reality. And so there is a potential to get lost here. But the solution is always the same. The solution is to step into the reality and make it a goal and make it a reality. And we're talking about a balance here, as with all the gates. Balancing the within and the without. Balancing what's given and what is received. The balance of saying a lot or saying too much and saying more with less. And this is a gate about achieving some sort of balance, because the energy can get imbalanced really easy. And Rudd goes into this in quite succinct detail as well, where he talks about the shadow of it being just both like Ra, or just like Ra has, that the significant shadow issue here is fantasy. And being stuck so that you can't bring, or you struggle with bringing the dreams into reality. So what we're looking at here is there's pressures that weigh on us as humans. There's pressures to evolve. There's pressures to be or feel or look or appear happy. And all these kind of pressures, to a large degree, are misreadings of our genetic code. We feel that we need to find some sort of completeness because the mind can't find it, and because the mind can never find it. But we get confused, and of course we think we are the mind. And so we're always looking for the resolve. We're always looking for the truth of the situation, or the center point, which balances all contradictions. There's a fear of paradox in humanity. And almost every gate brings up this theme, because we tend to get caught up in polarities. But me and Jamie were just having a conversation about this, about sitting with contradictions, being with contradictions, being at rest amidst contradictions, not feeling the need to resolve them or to pick a side. And this is, the biggest manipulation we all know is presently is the polarity set up. This or that, this or that. And really what we're looking at here is we're looking at this pressure, and we can actually physically feel it in the body. As of this day, Friday, and of course the Australians a day before, and the New Zealanders as well, we feel this pressure to feel something, right? To be full. But then when we're done with that, what do we want to do? We want to purge, we want to empty, and then we want to feel empty. And when we feel full, or when we're becoming full, we're happy with that. We're excited about that. We're pleased with that. And then it's too much and we want to be empty, and so we purge and we purify, and then we're empty. And then we feel at peace with that. And then we favor that. And so we always favor wherever we're not. Or we do. We favor where we're at if we're in our body, wherever that cycle is. So there's something about these feelings in human beings of favoring the full or favoring the empty, or favoring completeness over incompleteness. Me and Jamie are both MGs, so we know that as a manifesting generator, we're going to start a million projects. Are we going to complete them all? No, we're not going to complete them all. But we're fine with that, right? Because that's the way of the manifesting generator. That's our way. So whether we complete something or not, that's not a problem. It's either to be completed or it's not. And there's no shame in that. There's no humiliation in that. There's, oh, you didn't complete that. Oh, you didn't perfect that. It's perfect in its incompletion, is it not? Just as it's in perfection with its paradox, or paradox as a form of perfection, or contradiction as a form of rest and perfection. And of course, perfection is just another misnomer, but now it almost brings to mind one of my favorite songs. There's this band out of Oregon, Black Tape for Blue Girl, and they did this song called "The Glass is Shattered," but that's what makes it beautiful. What value is a shattered glass, one might say? It could injure somebody, could hurt somebody. You could walk on it. It's life-threatening. You can't we can't put wine into it anymore, or water, or whatever the drink was or is. It serves no longer a purpose, a logical purpose. But what is the value of a shattered glass? Well, you could say it has artistic value. Really, it just has the value of being what it is. It's shattered glass. So it's pieces of glass sprawled out somewhere on the floor. Glass is very reflective relative to the environment. That can create an interesting visual. Regardless, the image of something broken is something we try to cover up, just like a mess. We want to cover it up, we want to hide it, we want to put it in the closet. There's shame associated with incompleteness in a lot of cultures. Like, I'm hearing sounds of like those roosters. I don't even know what that is. So late at night, so weird. So, going a little too far here, I think, in this direction, but I want to just kind of nail home this kind of sentiment that humans can have, that we all can get stuck on, including myself, which is probably why I'm bringing it up. I can't stand always having to be in my own space of mess. So I tend to have this tendency to clean before I go to sleep, which elongates my night. But because there's some level of completeness I'm desperately seeking that I can't quite perfect inside of me, so I have to extend it outward. But I mean, it's really the same difference. The external, the internal are just reflections anyway. The point I'm attempting to arrive at is that the 41 is the beginning. But in a beginning, there's always an ending, because the goal itself is part of the beginning process. And this is about what the 41 is and what it shares. And it's not like we have a choice as humans. The process begins and that's it. We're in it. We're moving through it. There's no, oh, wait, or, oh, I forgot this, or no, it's a sequence. These are genetic sequences, and they get activated. And all of us have been activated on the shadow frequency of the 41. But with the new activation in 2027, the gift is anticipation, as Rudd talks about in Gene Keys. So he talks about how this new level, this higher frequency of experiencing the 41, is the awareness of being in the field, the morphogenetic field, the biofield, the human biofield, and its interrelatedness with all other biofields of life, including nature, trees, other people's fields, animals, the living environment, the ocean, the mountains, the lakes, the birds that I'm faintly hearing in the middle of the night right now. So weird. This is about being able to extract information from the fields around you. And this is what we'll be doing in 2027 as more of us start to get in touch with these higher frequencies of each gate. And the higher frequency, the 41, is the awareness, is the remembering of who we are. It's downloads from the past, downloads from the fields that surround us from our past. And this is like us having access. This is like humans being our own form of quantum organism with multi-levels of information, being able to download at any moment in a fractal manner. And this is what Red is talking about with Gate 41 and the beginning start codon of this sequence. And on the deeper level, on the emanation, which is the city of this particular gate, the name emanation, Red takes it deeper and talks about the physical body as a holographic mirror of the planetary verse. And he talks about the central tenet of this kind of doctrine of emanation is something that emerges as a mirror image of itself. And he's getting a little esoteric here, but what he's meaning to say is like that the 41 becomes like a black hole, reducing everything to nothing. And Red talks about this for all the cities of all the gates, that you can't like stand on your head for 16 years straight and then hope to be enlightened. I remember in high school reading Colin Wilson's The Occult History. I'll never forget there was an anecdote that Colin Wilson was noting about a man in Europe who nailed a wooden cross to his back. And I think in his 17th year with that cross on his back, he finally became enlightened. I mean, I'm probably making that up. I don't remember exactly, but will physical pain bring us transcendence? I mean, humans bend themselves into pretzels or, hook themselves up to machine. Humans do every sort of thing you can imagine, practically kill themselves and call it medicine, like we do all these things in order to force enlightenment, in order to like trigger it inside of us. But Rudd reiterates this over and over and over again throughout Gene Keys that there's nothing you can do to trigger it. There's nothing any of us can do. It just happens. If it's going to happen, it just happens. And so he talks about the 41 as reducing things to physiology, beingness, feeling, the essence of what it is to be humanness. And so there's the title, there's the I Ching of it, the decrease. Something about getting to the essence of your imagination, your fantasies, your desires. What is the real essence there? what is really wanting to happen there. Whatever it is, make it happen. And that's it. And then the next thing. And then make it happen. Do not live in the fantasy, but go towards the goal and making it a reality. Make sure that process is moving. And know that we're learning beings all the time, and we can tap into knowledge, not just materially, but through the field. That we're already doing it. We're already downloading information all the time. And what I said for the city part of it, yeah, I mean, I'm not pretending I actually related an understanding of that to you. I don't know that I have a full understanding of it. More often than not, when we get into the deep esoterics of things, language just kind of mirrors back to us, and we end up in a circle, in a tautological circle of just language kind of dealing with itself in a poetic way, having reached its kind of limit of expression. But that's what it is. That's what it is. This is an Aquarius gate. The sun is transiting for this week, and Pluto's there, which is destroying everything that's not authentic about how we express our feelings, our fantasies, and how we make our goals move forth, and how we access that information through the field around us for those of us who are connected in that way and that are conscious in making those connections. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for listening. I appreciate all you guys who listen to my nonsense, but hopefully in the field of what I'm saying, there's knowledge to be downloaded. And I'll see you guys next week when I get into the gate after the 41, and we have some period of rest before January 5th. And that will be, I didn't write down the gate, but it'll be the next Aquarius gate. And so I'll leave it at that. Thanks so much, and take care.